Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be running through a high-level overview of Assemble systems focused on pre-construction. We'll start with an overview of the interface and then some of the more relevant functionalities. And we'll show how those work into a pre-construction workflow for quantification. So over on the left, we have our model tree. This is going to be where all the models in a project live. There's going to be the ability to turn these models on and off. So if you need to view one set of data alongside of another, you can do this with whatever disciplines that you have available. You can also do this with different areas of a building, multiple buildings in a project. You can very, very easily understand exactly what's happening by turning these models on with this switch on the right. The versioning allows you to understand exactly what versions of a model are loaded into the project. This will also allow you to show changes, which is something we'll get to a little bit later. Once you add a project to Assemble and turn it on over here on the left, all that data is going to be added to the center panel, which we call our inventory. Every single object in this inventory is going to be broken down by category, family, and type out of the box. But we'll get into how we use this group by functionality to restructure and reorganize this data set. So this is really where all the heavy lifting is going to happen. This is really going to be where all the customization occurs. We can completely customize what we view, how it's structured, what supplemental data is behind it, and that can tie to all sorts of other things in Assemble as well. So you notice right on the surface we have quantities being displayed all the way down to the single instance. When I come in and I grab a single object, you notice that object actually going to be highlighted. Say I come in and I grab this framing. You see that framing has actually been highlighted over in my viewer. So there's going to be a consistent link between the 3D and the data set completely through the process. Works in either direction. And the same thing persists with the 2D. So if I have my 2D documents loaded up out of Revit, I can come in and see all the available sheets in a project. And when I select an object, I can see only the sheets the selected object appears on. So if I come in and I grab this model, you see all the available sheets populate with my selection, which is everything in this case. The last but most important thing about Assemble is the property set over on the right. So not only are we bringing in quantities and other information, we're bringing in every single parameter that Revit holds in that model. And we also support obviously models outside of Revit. In this case, we're working with a Revit model. So we have lots of rich information, everything from dimensions to phasing to structural elements and other values that you might need. On the surface, we have another very important piece of functionality, which is the Assemble properties. These are completely open-ended, completely customizable fields that you can use to basically define any piece of information inside of your model. So this could be things that are statuses, this could be zones or areas, this could be bid packages, this could be a variety of different information, but they can be any type of property, they can be numeric, they could be predefined data trees. You can do all sorts of things with these values over on the right-hand side. Once you get done kind of running through the interface, we can hop into an actual workflow here. So say we wanted to quantify something like steel. Right on the surface, we run into an issue being that there's nothing that defines the materials out of the box with how we organize the information. So what I need to do is I need to take a property from over on the right and use it as a method of structure to better understand the materials in my project. So in this case, as I explore, I see we have a structural material parameter. So I'm going to take that field and use it as a method to structure my data set based on the relevant materials. You see when I do this that nothing's been hidden or changed other than the way that we're seeing the information displayed in the inventory. And now we have an understanding of what is steel, what is concrete. We have all the different materials as well. One of the important things to point out is the ability to understand exactly what's not assigned. So Assemble provides the ability to condition in extra information, and this can be allowing you to really group together and identify things that are maybe generic or undefined and add them to the correct grouping or package so that nothing is left out or missed when you're doing an estimate. So you see down as we come through, there's all sorts of structural framing that is not defined as steel, but as we look at it, it's all steel, and as we investigate this in the model, you'll notice it is all steel as well. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to take all this information that may be undefined, and we're going to define it alongside of all the other steel elements. using the assemble properties that I discussed before. So I'm going to open up this property set. You see there's a package in here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to find this to steel. Maybe I do it for concrete while I'm here. See, we have that package defined. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in and break this down by package. So I'm going to take those packages this time and use those as the method of structuring. You see we have steel, masonry, concrete, roofing. And I'm going to go in and see how this is structured. And right now we want this just structured by package. Now I'm going to come over and mess with our next functionality, which is the visibility settings. These visibility settings are going to allow you to filter out anything that you don't want to visualize in the data set if you're trying to drill into a specific package. So in this case, I'm just going to leverage those properties in packages that I defined to say I'm going to create a rule to show only the bid packages defined as steel. I'm going to update this. And you notice that we now only have our steel filter down. But as we start to get into this data set, we want to get a total value and we want the data to be structured in a little bit more intelligence. So I'm going to flip over this quantity first thing. To weight. Save that. You see now we get a total tonnage. And you see that if I investigate this a little further, we do have the naming conventions that we might need in the data set. We just need to use them as methods to structure. So I'm going to take those parameters, which are the family names and type names of these objects, and I'm going to use those as a method to structure now. By doing this, not only are we going to get a more intelligent data set, but we'll get something that's actually usable and exportable to be costed. So now we have the family names being displayed, which provides all of the quantities. I have another breakdown of all the different section types for that naming convention, which is the WY flange in this case. You can see exactly where those things live in the model. Now, if I want to add other information on the back end, I can always mess with the columns. Maybe I want to give context to these quantities rather than just having dimensions displayed. So I can come in and get rid of things that I don't need. I can add things that I do. Maybe we want to bring back in those structural materials. Maybe we want to understand the structural usages. Maybe we want to get in the levels. Whatever information you want to add, you can define in those columns and really customize this data set to provide whatever insights you need. So now you see that we have materials being displayed, usages broken out, levels defined. So at this point, we have a pretty solid quantification. We want to make sure we save this as a view so that we can get to it later. Maybe we want to export this to Excel or Navisworks search sets. Maybe we want to add some visual flair to this model where we can come in and go color by property. Let's say family name. Maybe we want to show changes. Once you utilize those functionalities and parameters that I'm talking about, you can do just about anything with your data set from there. And showing changes is obviously quite simple. You now get a design update on that steel. You want to see what's changed, you select this option and it gives you everything that was added, removed, type changed, quantity changed, and type and quantity changed. You see those things visually broken down here in the model viewer, where I can turn on the ghost mode to get exactly where they live. And you also see their quantities broken down in the inventory. So now we've taken a model, we've defined our packages, we've broken information down into those individual packages, we've organized it the way we needed to, we visualized it all, and now we're understanding what was changed when we get an updated design model. That is a pretty high-level overview of the assemble pre-construction workflows and high-level functionalities. If there's any other information you might need, please feel free to reach out to us and we can run you through it. Thanks.